Hey guys, I'm the Comics Kid 2099 and I'm here to talk about a book that I read yesterday and today, Hulk, Hide in Plain Sight. Yesterday and last week I did some reviews of some Hulk hardcovers, which was like 2 storylines per volume. Well, those were the only 2 hardcovers like that Marvel did. There was those 2, which was 4 storylines, and then after that, the rest of the run that Bruce Jones did was just done in normal size trade paperbacks. So this is volume 5, but then those other 2, don't let that confuse you. This is really, if you read those 2 big hardcovers, then this is what you need to read next. And this, I'm going to go ahead and say, is probably so far the worst part of Bruce Jones's run from what I've read. The thing is, it's not even that bad of a story. It's really not bad at all. If this had happened before Bruce Jones's run or after Bruce Jones's run and was written by somebody else and was just a standalone Hulk story where he fights the Absorbing Man, then that would have been fine. There would have been no problems with it at all. Actually, I would have had a couple problems, and I'll get to that in a minute. But really, my big frustrating gripe with this is that Bruce Jones spent almost 2 years setting up all of this really interesting stuff. Lots of espionage, backstabbing, a lot of twists and turns that you don't see coming, characters who are kind of hiding in the dark, a lot of stuff like that. Very intrigue, a lot of, not really political intrigue, but kind of, sort of. A lot of that going on in those first 2 hardcovers that I talked about. And then, for 5 issues, all of that is completely ignored. In this book, basically, Bruce Banner is on the run from the government, and specifically this hidden sect of the government that has framed him for the murder of a little boy. And then he winds up in this town where the Absorbing Man is being kept prisoner underneath the town. And I think it may be New York City. They say that at one point, that it's New York City, or that one of the characters says she lives in New York City. So I'm assuming it is New York, although that doesn't really make any sense. But anyway, basically what's happened here, this is, I'm not even kidding, you could completely skip this volume. You could go from the big hardcover volumes that I reviewed yesterday and last week, and then just go straight into volume 6, which I've glanced through it, and I've looked at the first few pages, and it picks right back up with the stuff that was going on in those 2 hardcover volumes. This ignores all of that. And like I said, this would have been just fine if this had happened after Bruce Jones's run or before Bruce Jones's run, where this is just a story where the Hulk fights the Absorbing Man. But this has nothing to do with any of the stuff that Bruce Jones was working with, and so it feels very shoehorned in. And I'm wondering if that was maybe a mandate from on high, because if you watch the Ang Lee Hulk movie, at the very end of the movie, Bruce Banner's father kind of sort of becomes a superhuman. It doesn't really make any sense. He has the powers of the Absorbing Man. Like, he bites into an electrical cord, and then he becomes this giant thing made out of electricity. And so it's like, okay, that's kind of the Absorbing Man's powers. So I'm wondering if maybe Axel Alonso or Joe Quesada, I wonder if one of those guys said to Jones, hey, listen, you need to do a storyline featuring the Absorbing Man. And perhaps Bruce Jones didn't really want to do that, and so he just kind of hammered something out just so that he could get it done with and then go back to his story that he wanted to do. And another thing that really makes this feel skippable, and this is going to sound really mean, this is drawn by somebody, I don't know their name right off the top of my head, Leandro Fernandez. Now, Leandro Fernandez's art is very good, but when you compare it to all the stuff that we had gotten so far in this run, it's very cartoony. It does not feel at all like what we had gotten with Deodato and Ammonin. And then, in fact, what makes this feel really bizarre is that after this storyline, Deodato goes right back to drawing the rest of Bruce Jones's run. So I don't understand that all of that together makes this feel like an interlude that you absolutely do not need to read. The fact that it doesn't reference anything that was going on in Bruce Jones's run. Actually, it references 2 things. One, the little boy that Bruce Banner has allegedly killed before the run started. They reference that once in this book, and then also there's this thing that we see that Banner does whenever he's trying not to Hulk Hulk out, he focuses on a lady in a bathing suit. And we see that several times in Bruce Jones's run. We see it once here. So those two things, yeah, they kind of connect it to Bruce Jones's run. But other than that, it really just feels like a standalone episode right smack dab in the middle of this very arc-heavy run that didn't really do standalone episodes before now. And so that makes it feel very odd. As far as the quality of the story, it's a pretty fine story. There is one thing in it that happens that doesn't really make any sense, and I am going to spoil it real quick, so if you don't want to hear spoilers, I'm going to put my thumb up. As long as my thumb is up, I'm spoiling. So mute the video starting now. Okay, so Crusher Creel, the Absorbing Man, is kept underneath this prison thing in his energy force field thing. And basically, somehow, he has gotten the power to possess people. It does not make any sense at all. It's not explained. There's this one doctor character in this story. He hazards a guess as to how this happened, but we are not told, yes, this is absolutely how it happened. And I'm not enough of a Hulk fan to know if the Absorbing Man shows up after this story, but I'm assuming if he did that this power would be ignored, because it's kind of stupid how this just happens out of nowhere and there's no explanation for it. But then at the very end of the story, our characters think that they have killed the Absorbing Man, which in comic books that means nothing, but they think they've killed him. And then we see somewhere at the very end of the story, this couple has given birth to a baby, and the baby has Crusher Creel's eyes. We saw any point in the story where he was possessing someone, they would have a different set of eyes. They would have eyes that looked a lot more like his eyes, and this baby has his eyes. It doesn't make any sense because the characters have dealt with Crusher Creel in such a way where it seems pretty certain that he's not going to be able to escape from this prison that they've created for him. And I'm sure that they used the character again in the last 10 years or so, but it doesn't make sense how he would escape from the punishment that they had for him into the body of a baby. Unless the baby was not possessed by Crusher Creel, but instead it was just an evil baby that had Crusher Creel's powers. And I'm almost certain, because this is a very standalone, skippable book, that they are not going to reference this evil-looking baby at the end of this storyline. So spoilers are over. That's really my two major gripes about this, other than the fact that it feels so alarmingly out of nowhere. It's just this interlude that doesn't have anything to do with anything at all. Other than that, those were my two main complaints. But the artwork, like I said, it's good artwork. I like the art. I'm a huge fan of cartoony, usually, but whenever you have a lot of very ultra-realistic, like Mike Deodato or Stuart Immonen, and then suddenly you jump into this just for one arc, and then you go right back to Mike Deodato, then it's a little jarring. But let me show you the artwork here. I personally think it's really good art. In the same way, I don't think the story is that bad at all. It's just that it feels so jarring whenever you've got this really long, almost 2-year-long setup for this story that's going on, and then out of nowhere we're going to take a break from that for 5 issues and do something that has nothing to do with anything. And I know I've said before that a story doesn't have to be part of a larger continuity in order to be a good story. As long as it is enjoyable, then it has achieved the thing that it is setting out to achieve. I've said that before, and I do believe that. Having said that, when a storyline, when a very long run from a creator is setting out to be this really long-form story that takes place over the span of a few years, and then right in the middle you do this sort of cartoon interlude, it takes me out of it. It takes me out of it so much that it is hard for me to enjoy it, even though, objectively speaking, if I had read this first, I think it would have been just fine, and I would have enjoyed it a whole lot more. So that's all I have to say about the Hulk Hide in Plain Sight. You could probably find this pretty easily online, I think. It's not that hard to find. Maybe not in a store. You might have a harder time finding it there. But if you want to check this out, if you're a casual Hulk fan like me, you would probably enjoy this. But if you are reading Bruce Jones's run, I would suggest that you skip this volume, read 6, 7, and 8, and then once you've finished Bruce Jones's run, then come back and read this one afterwards as sort of a little interlude or something that takes place before the run, Bruce Jones's run started. Do something like that. but don't read this in order that they have it. That's really my only suggestion. So that's all I have to say. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and I will probably have another one up for you tomorrow. That's kind of my tentative plan right now. So I will see you guys then with a different kind of video. Catch you later.